The February 25th meeting of the Durham Planning Board shall come to order. Explanation. We have everybody's present, right? So we don't have any members on Zoom, so I can skip over that part. We'll start with a roll call. Munish. Darrell Ford.
Heather Grant.
Peter Howd.
Gary Whittington.
Michael Barron, town planner, and Richard Kelly is expected to come.
Paul Rasmussen.
Sally Tobias.
Emma Hollander.
Peyton McManus.
Robert Sullivan.
And Julian Smith.
All right, let's see. Where was it? Munish, I think it's your turn to play alternate. So you get, in case Richard never shows up, you're going to be our alternate tonight.
I'm sorry, who were you talking to?
Munish.
Okay, thank you.
Approval of, does anybody have any modifications to the agenda? I'll move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nope. All right, town planners report.
Item 9, 561 Bay Road is postponed to the March 11th meeting at the applicant's request. The Conservation Commission had to reschedule their meeting, so we don't have a recommendation from them. So rather than come to 2 meetings, they thought it should be fine for them to postpone to March 11th. We had a site walk on Saturday for Stratford Avenue, and we had a quorum with 4 planning board members, and we'll send the minutes for that. And it's great to see we have a full house with all 12 people, 7 regular and 5 alternate members. Richard is supposed to be here, so it is a full house. That's it.
That's it. All right. Reports from board members who serve on other committees. Town council?
Yes, okay, so the town council met on the 16th. That was a long night. We had an active public hearing prior to the actual public hearings for the height of the downtown, and it was mostly related to the guns on campus and taxes and affordability in the town. It was a really varied amount of opinions that occurred that evening, if you want to see that on DCAT. Obviously, the largest portion of that was the 50 foot on 4 stories. The easy one was passing the recent state changes, so the town council did adopt it after we sent it back to them with no changes. And so obviously the 50 foot 4 stories was also approved by the town council on that night. I think the one question I had is one of the observations was the depth, and Cardin Welsh had brought up the fact that we had changed the depth of the retail floor. And I don't actually remember that. Is it that he just noticed it, or did we do that change? Because I don't remember talking about that.
He was recommending
that we change it.
that he was hoping it would be in there, yes. And it wasn't, and he was disappointed.
But we didn't make
No,
it bigger.
That's
No.
just,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
pre-existing. We just
Yeah,
didn't-
I didn't want to say anything that night, because I wasn't sure
We weren't
myself.
focusing
but-
on that.
Okay, that's what I was wondering about. But they did suggest that we look at that, on whether that makes sense or not, that something be done with that.
And the 5 stories.
And the fact that they want to be able to identify the 5th story.
stories.
And I think
agree.
we know that we wanted to do that. We mentioned that during one of the last modifications that Paul had recommended that, so. And that's it? Yeah, that's it.
I did speak with Joe Friedman since then. Actually, I think it was just yesterday. And he's going to have an item on the next council agenda to determine how best to continue that process of figuring out what's going to occur in the downtown. I had suggested a joint committee at one point. That's going to be one of the considerations, and but we might open it up to a broader spectrum of people with more expertise with regards to that. So we've had apparently some townsfolk with good experience in that area has come forward and offered their services, so.
Would that involve the, looking at the architectural and design standards?
At council's, like I said, it's going to be an item on for the council to discuss at their next meeting to try to decide how best to go. So nothing was determined.
Because
I think-
I've corresponded with Michael about potentially, maybe it's a good time since now we're going to be relying on them with respect to that additional height to make any needed technical changes since they were done 10 years ago, probably a very minor thing. And I know that Michael has looked at that issue and it's just really a few, they're very robust. I mean, there's plenty of detail, but there could be some technical changes needed just to prepare.
We'll see. Nothing is off the table at the moment.
But I mean, just on that separate point, some people have asked me about it, and they're 10 years old. I think they're great, but I think it, would benefit from tweaking them and just updating them. And that, just so you know, that would be an easy thing for me to do. I could do that, whenever you'd like them. I could bring them forward.
We should have a planning board-wide discussion on that first, because I don't think there's a consensus on the board as to which direction the architectural standards should go.
Which direction of what should go? I'm sorry.
If we're going to be tweaking the architectural standards, do you tweak them this way or tweak them that way?
Make them plainer or make them fancier?
Oh, I was thinking
think
just
that's more technical than
just
mine.
minor stuff, just updating them, not shifting the thrust at all.
I think we also have to think about the fact that we haven't even gotten to the conservation subdivision.
Yeah.
And the other priorities, so, I just got to decide what's,
I don't want to make too much of it. I think it's really very short.
Right.
I don't think it's a time demand.
We have two zoning items on the agenda for tonight. We can work our way through those, and then we'll think about what we want to hit next. Julian?
I've been asked to remind the board that the architectural standards are more than 10 years old and really do need to be updated. I know you were speaking to that briefly, Michael, but I hope that will happen. And I would also like to let you know, if you don't know, I have been speaking again and again to the town council about the problems coming out of the plan to remove the Mill Pond Dam. There has not been anything in the budget in recent years about the expense the town is going to incur once the dam is gone. I've spoken to the council about that. And Todd has agreed to tell me to find out how much the Oyster River Dam removal at Mill Pond report that the town contracted with VHB
Is this part
to
of the
do.
roundtable?
This is 200. Wait, this has to do with planning. This is 254.
Yeah, but we are on council.
Reports.
I know.
That's item 5.
Yeah.
But it's going to come back, some of these issues are going to come back to the planning board, the conservation commission, and so on. And if you have
No, it
never
won't.
held this,
Wait,
pick
No,
up a copy.
all right. Other committees?
Dam is done.
Julian, that's better for other business.
Okay, well, we'll talk about it under other business.
I don't know that
At the end of the
it's up to-
meeting.
that's only if you
But
have the
that's when
access.
All
it
right.
should be discussed.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So,
Conservation Commission got postponed?
We got postponed till next week. That's what caused the cascade on 561. It was a good decision. Apparently, it was snowy here that night, and I was not in town, luckily. But we are going to have to, the big thing that we're doing is obviously circling back on the WCOD.
Okay. We're going to have, while we're here, this is our last meeting, I think, with the existing counselors potentially.
Well, unless they don't, neither
Oh,
one
no,
of
we
them
have,
are up.
or, no, we have,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we're already still on it.
They're
right,
still
but you'll
on.
have new committee assignments
They may have the same
potentially,
ones.
right? So we don't know. So
You
I
obviously-
said it potentially is the last because you
He
might have
said
new
hopefully he
committee.
doesn't want to be here.
I understand.
I said hopefully.
I can read lips. No, so I do want to thank you guys both for your service for the past year, and in case this is your last meeting.
And we have to
Thank
remember
you.
that, Daryl stepped up to replace Eric
Yeah.
when
Oh,
Eric
that's-
passed away.
yes.
Yeah. And with that in mind, when do we do our committee reassignments? It's in April?
I think it's at second meeting in April.
Second meeting in April, so
Pretty sure.
I'd like people to start thinking about what committees they might want to take on for next year. I would like, I would like to step away from IMAC, so if anyone has, that's 8 in the morning
Do it
on a
in the
Wednesday,
morning, yeah, I know, yeah.
twice a month.
She's not doing that.
Do that.
So I just wanted to let folks know that that one was going to be open. Right now, we do have a lot of open appointments, so if anyone does have time and interest, yes, Julian?
I have filed an application to be appointed as a citizen to the Conservation Commission and spoken with the chair and vice chair. So that will probably be on the second agenda for the council in March.
Okay.
We missed the deadline for the one on Monday. But I've been going to the Conservation Commission meetings, which I used to do as a member of the planning board. So.
All right, thank you. All right, any other committees?
I know I'm late, and I apologize for that, but speaking about changes, what was with the seating changes there?
Well, when I got in there,
Sign.
none of the seating, none of the name tags were out yet.
Because there was another meeting.
So I just kind of pulled them out and,
I like the
rearrange
change. I
things.
feel like I'm at the adult table.
Although Mr. Kelly stayed in place.
Yeah, I noticed
It all pivoted around.
You're usually there, and Daryl's there.
well, Marisha's usually on that side
There's a-
somewhere.
yeah.
Moved down here, we swapped around on this
Yeah.
side a little.
So anyway, I just juggled things up a little bit so you'd have new partners, but I like trying to keep the counselors together. What the old seating hadn't been, I was just letting it inherit whoever put the tags out.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's actually a good idea to put the counselors together. When Card and I were on together, it was of course,
We can't,
you can communicate better with each other about your opinions.
all right. So that's it for committee reports. Public comments? Do we have anybody on Zoom?
We do not.
We do not, thank you. And that will get us to items 8, public hearing for Stratford Avenue, 2-lot subdivision, 20 Stratford Ave, 2-lot subdivision placing 2 existing houses on separate lots. Stephen Kimball, Pine Ledge Holdings, property owner. Philip Yetman, surveyor. Haley Ward, agent, map 106, lot 11. This is the Residence A district. So, discussion. So what we have open, well, Michael, what should we be, where should our focus be tonight on this?
Well, we had to meet tonight. I mean, it made sense to meet tonight for the public hearing. The staff is going to walk the site to look at the parking situation and the request for a second driveway. Unfortunately, with vacation schedules and other people with difficult schedules, we're not able to do that until, I think it's the second, it's after our March 11th meeting. So unfortunately, I won't have any clarity on that. And then at that, once we meet, we may need to speak with Mr. Kimball, to see what the arrangement is. And I don't know, I don't have more information about the agreement with UNH. So I think, I don't see any red flags for the subdivision. I think the only thing to clarify is how the driveway will be treated, but that, it's difficult to write up a notice because there's just a few variables. Is it going to be a shared driveway which would require easements or not? And, there might be some easements also required for utilities depending where they come in. Plus, how much the applicant is intending to reclaim the driveway should the house be demolished and moved, and how much the board might want to weigh in on reclaiming that. So unless the board has particular comments, it may make sense just to postpone this to the March 25th meeting.
I'm sorry, I just have a question, which is that we have these printed handouts, and then I also have the digital version.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like there's any difference, but I just want to confirm that these are the same, that what is available on the town website is the same. I was just wondering if there's some...
I believe the only change was that small wetland in the front, which is not subject to the buffer. The buffer around that was removed. On the colored one, that front wetland should be marked with light green, but it is a wetland, it's just not subject to our ordinance. But I think that's the only thing that's different from the earlier plan.
Oh, either one on it is in light green, but if you look on this one, it's the darker green on that area. Is that it? Or is it that just?
No, I mean, the colored map is accurate. It removes the buffer in the front.
The dark green is where the overlay district overlaps that green shading. It just causes the light green to become dark.
Oh, right, maybe he actually had it as light green there.
Yeah, okay.
Occluded or...
So it's the same.
Michael, when you say it removes the buffer in front, does that mean they can fill in that low area that collects
Well,
water?
they can do whatever they want within that, what was shown as the buffer earlier.
Yeah.
But there is still that very small rectangular wetland in the access, which they...
Yeah. Well, would that make it possible for them, for the parking to be angled, diagonal, so there would be no loss of parking?
Well, we'll look at that, at the staff, but that probably would be a big deal. I'm not sure that would be the best solution.
Yeah. And I still don't see why there can't be two driveways. If there have been two driveways, the right-of-way issue is something that goes into the deed, et cetera. So,
A shared driveway.
a shared driveway, that should not be an issue for us. It should be an issue for the applicant if parking cannot be removed. If there can be not less parking, then change nothing with parking and just put in a shared driveway. I've existed with shared driveways.
So is the proper course of action to, do we open the public hearing and just continue it to the 25th? Or
I would think
do we not
so.
even start?
I think we would have to, or at least, we need to somehow bring the public hearing to the 25th.
Right. And we advertised it for tonight, right?
Yes,
So the applicant's gone through the expense of advertising
we
it
should open it tonight.
and just leave it and continue it.
And continue it.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I do have just a quick comment that I wanted to mostly just put into the record. I drove down Stratford Ave tonight, and with the plowing situation, it's a fairly small street. There's probably close to a dozen parking spaces on that street right now that are unusable and full of snow. Now, that could, I don't have any sense of the hardship being caused by people who normally park there not being able to park there, but clearly people are finding other things to do. with their cars that normally park there. So it doesn't seem to be like causing a huge kerfuffle in town to have a dozen parking spaces lost. If it makes a more attractive, separate lot situation, losing 2 spots permanently doesn't seem like it would be a crazy hardship for the town, for the area.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I would disagree with that. The spaces that have been lost right now are temporary until that gets plowed out of there, and then they'll be back again. These would be lost permanently. It also doesn't deal with the issue of the agreement between the town and UNH, so.
Yeah, I think there's real value in the parking spots too. They're worth at least, I don't know what the number is, but people can rent their parking spot for $500 a semester, no problem. So there's real value there. The applicants here, has anything changed on the 2 driveway, 1 driveway question?
I just wanted to be on the mic so people.
Thank you.
No change. The best orientation and setup for, creating a single-family home that'll be attractive to families that want to live in it would be to have their own driveway access. We're hoping we can find a resolution to that. I mean, I would point out that already along Stratford Avenue, there's a number of breaks in the parking for various driveways, my driveway being one of them. There's another residence with a driveway. The university has like 4 or 5 driveway accesses, one of which is to a very large parking lot that they have off of Stratford Avenue. So to Ms. Hollander's point, they already have like 100+ parking spaces in that immediate area. And then Stratford Ave adds another, the total is probably 25 to 35 spaces, but on a percentage basis, it's like we're not really impacting the total available parking. And there is a precedent that they do leave gaps for driveways along there, even though they're not new. So that's my comment.
Yeah, I don't mean to say that parking is not a severe, dire issue in downtown Durham. I totally recognize that it is. I'm just trying to say 2 parking spaces in the grand scheme of things. I think there's value to consider.
I think the applicant will have their discussion with town staff, and hopefully that will clarify it. I would prefer to not have to have, if the planning board can sort of just stay out of that issue, would be my preference. Let them resolve it, and then we'll just okay it.
Do we have, I don't think we do have a say in that. I mean, I guess we're sort of vocalizing some opinions. I certainly have my opinion that I would side with the housing over the parking, but I don't know if our vocalizing our opinion makes any difference or not, or if it weighs in on this in any way.
Well, it's the decision of the town administrator, but it's relevant to the subdivision. The board, you could offer comments if you wish, or recommendations about that point.
Well, it seems like we're kind of split on it, so I don't see that being a good use of our time at this point. I think we should just acknowledge that we're split and let staff
Yeah,
work it
I
out.
think the applicant has a good argument to get his preference, and I think that you're capable of bringing it forward.
All right, so, Mr. Kimball, I'm sorry we had to drag you out just for this little bit tonight. But the March 25th, we're going to invite you back for March 25th.
Okay, so you're going to skip the 11th and go right to the 25th?
Well, it looks like that town staff, they're going to be walking the site on the 13th, which is after the next meeting.
Okay.
So we're going to be in this sort of same limbo at that point.
Right. So also the 13th I wasn't aware of that until I read your meeting notice. So if they're just going to be on the street, obviously they can do that if they're going to review parking. If they want access to the property, I'll need to coordinate that with the people that live there.
No, I think we'll just be walking along Stratford Avenue.
Okay, all right, well, thank you.
All right, so just before you leave, I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing for 20 Stratford Avenue.
I second.
Seconded by Gary. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, is there anyone here who'd like to speak on this issue? Is there anyone in Zoom?
Nope.
Nope. I'll move that we continue this public hearing to March 25th.
Second?
Seconded, thank you, Gary. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you for your time.
All right, so item 9 has been postponed to our next meeting,
Right, March 11th.
right? And that gets us to item 10, amendment to allow electric vehicle charging. Proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance to allow electric vehicle charging facilities in all zoning districts. So let's see where we are here. Did everybody take a peek at it?
How come the agenda was modified like that?
The Conservation Commission was not able to meet on that item. They'll be meeting next Wednesday
I gotcha, because of the storm.
because of the storm, yes.
And just a clarification on that, before we leave item 9, what permitted use B is the applicant pointing to?
Yeah.
It's not clear in the application,
Right.
nor in this description here.
Right. The applicant submitted something, it's about a year ago, for something similar, changes to the back of the house and retaining walls.
Most of us were here for that.
That's right, yeah. They actually submitted it as a conditional use, but when the planning board received the application, it was the sense of the board that the nature of what they were doing, even though there wasn't a specific line item in permitted use B, was that what they were submitting was consistent with the nature and the impact of the other items in permitted use B. So the board decided to review it that way.
Yeah, and I specifically remember us making that decision because of the retaining wall, and that there was a retaining wall getting replaced. And that is explicitly called out as a permitted B, B5, whatever it might be. And I'm wondering what they're coming back now for. And I question you, because you may want to talk to the applicant. If it's the retaining wall, they've extended the work well beyond any sort of retaining wall.
I mean, if the board thinks it should be treated as a conditional use, then the board should make that decision.
I think the applicant needs to tell us B what? B1, B2, B3?
Well, the board decided last time it was submitted to treat it as a permitted use B.
Yes.
And that was because in total, the board considered the character of what they were doing consistent with permitted use, even if there wasn't a very specific line item. And so this was a similar proposal, so I processed it that way. You can treat it as a conditional use if you think that's appropriate.
I didn't raise that. You raised that. I didn't offer that as a suggestion. The question I have, and perhaps we should write this down because I do want to get an answer for it when the
I
applicant
don't have
comes.
an answer to you.
I don't need that tonight.
Decision.
I certainly don't need that tonight. If the applicant has not said what subcategory of permitted use B they're seeking their application for.
Well, but they didn't do that the last time either. That was a
But
judgment
I
of the
told
board.
you that the retaining wall was critical
Then-
on that.
Then the board, there was no specific line item last time. It was a
Okay.
judgment of the board, and presumably the board would see this the same way.
Okay.
But if you don't, then you can make that call.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
All right. We were on the proposed amendment for the EV chargers. And I got some notes on this from when I was going through it. I want to take a look at the definitions. First off, I'm wondering why common use definition of electric vehicle would not be suitable here. Why do we need a definition for electric vehicle? Why can we not just
Use the definition.
use what is commonly, what is in common use? Because I have a lot of issues with this definition.
It's a vehicle registration.
Because, Peyton, if you don't re-register your vehicle, your Tesla's not an electric vehicle.
Yeah, because and the state department.
Nor do we recognize electric vehicles registered in other states, because we say the State Department of Motor Vehicles. So if it's not registered by the New Hampshire Department of Motor Vehicles, we're not recognizing it as an electric vehicle.
You want to delete that part about registration?
I would like to delete the whole definition.
Why? The registration doesn't make it an electric vehicle. It's an electric vehicle even if it's not registered.
Especially since the legislature, granted it died a fast and painful death, but they were kicking around the idea of having to register bicycles.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, don't go there. Yeah, electric vehicle is a car or vehicle powered by one or more electric motors.
I mean, why do we need a definition? We don't have a definition for a car, and yet we have an automotive service center. Why do we need an electric vehicle definition?
Do we just need to distinguish it between a vehicle versus a scooter? A car versus a scooter?
Why?
I don't really necessarily.
I agree with you, Chair.
Yeah.
I agree with you
I
on
would
that.
just take it out, and it's either that or say it's a car that uses a battery. Take it out, take it
An
out.
automobile.
No, because the issue you run into when you redefine a term that's in common use is that your definition, you got to basically review it every 6 months, or it becomes out of use. It becomes archaic. And you have new things out there that don't pertain to it anymore.
I don't think you have any disagreement, let's just do it.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So I'd like to remove the definition for electric vehicle.
Maybe then just a few words could be added to carry the water on that within the electric vehicle charging station definition that just adds on equipment for plug-in power transfer to a vehicle powered by electricity or something very
is
simple.
in the- it says that in the last-
Doesn't require redefinition.
Actually, I wanted to even, so, you want to hear my new definition for the next one?
I think we're going to.
For a vehicle charging.
Probably, yeah.
A new table?
Equipment and structure necessary for the safe charging of an electric vehicle.
There you go.
There you go. You don't need to have any semicolons in it?
Folder all.
Can I hear that again?
Michael, where's the definition? Where's the definition?
This is from the item prepared by the Energy Committee.
Yeah.
From the regulations.
No, it's, again, it gets into the nitty-gritty. Equipment and structure necessary for the safe charging of an electric vehicle.
Including ungrounded grounding conductors.
Well, that's certainly broad, and it gives, I think
It's broad, it's flexible, but it covers all the necessary bases that we really care about, right?
Anybody that can plug in can plug in.
It's the equipment, it's the structure, and it's for the safe charging of a vehicle.
Yeah.
For the safe charging of an electric vehicle?
Here,
Yeah, electric vehicle.
right there.
All right.
All right, thank you for your easy agreement on those items. What do people think of the table of uses?
I'm trying to figure out why we're doing special exception.
Yeah, I was just wondering what's with the SE?
I thought about that.
I don't like,
I had the initial
I just want an example.
knee-jerk reaction.
what's the reasoning?
As a primary use, so as an accessory use, we're allowing it everywhere, which is what we asked for,
Right.
right? For a primary use, we're saying, well, maybe I don't want it as a primary use on Faculty Lane
Or in our.
or Garden Lane.
In RC.
You know, Garden Lane might not be the best spot for someone to come in and put in a half dozen fast charging units. I think I want a special exception for that. I can understand this argument.
Those are all residential areas.
So for RA, for RB, I think that makes complete sense. R and RC, I am kind of on a fence on, because I think Route 4 and Route 108, basically in their entirety, are good options for that type of
I
facility,
think RC, yeah, RC could.
right? But doing it as a special exception, I'd be okay with that. I mean, if someone was to come in and try to put one in.
But where would,
So-
in that case, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Can you, I mean, what example would you have for, where would it go in an RA if you're talking principal use? Because I was confused with, I forgot that was principal use. I mean, where would it go?
Well, there's.
It wouldn't go in nowhere.
Don't know. But leaving it open, if somebody thinks they have a good spot for it, it might be all right. I mean, you got the ghost house up there at 95 Madbury Road. You got that property there, which is just a little bit off of Route 4. It might work. And technically,
nice.
Route 4 right there at the edge of Madbury Road is RA.
Yeah.
So Paul, you're just trying to control for the notion, a parking lot that's got a lot of traffic in and out, and you think that you wanted just a little lever to hold on that one?
You know, the SEs weren't my idea, but as I looked at them and thought about them, I thought I can see the sense behind them. I'm not married to it either way, but I think if we just put it as permitted, there might be some unnecessary angst involved.
I don't think we could put it as permitted in a residential area.
No.
So this-
Do we need to differentiate between a residential system, a residential
No, because
charging station and a commercial charging station?
We're trying to avoid that.
we won't
So
have,
how would
So-
Peyton
can
just
have
put
your
in a
own.
charging station in his,
But that's an accessory use to his home, to his garage, which is permitted by right as an accessory use.
these are commercial uses we're looking.
We're talking
yeah, so,
about the
but do we
commercial
need,
Tesla
do we
charger
need
type use.
to somewhere specify we're talking commercial?
Well,
as
it's
opposed
utility
to-
Well, that's what principal use
Principal use.
typically means, is it's a commercial
Okay.
use of a,
The only use of it will be that, so the principal, versus if it's in your house, it's accessory to your home.
you know, if you're doing it just to charge your stuff, whether you're a farm or anything else, that's an accessory use to your farm
Okay.
or an accessory use. It's if,
Thank you.
you know, that type of deal.
What about the, say, Harmony Homes on 108 going down toward New Market? Let's just say they wanted to add 3 chargers in their parking lot for whatever reason.
It depends, I think it would really
that's
boil.
accessory.
It'd
That
be
would
That would just be accessory.
Yeah, because more than likely, they could say we're doing it for our
Well, wouldn't it depend
employees or for
on-
our families that come in here.
What they do with it, well, I suppose, yeah.
They could do it as an accessory, no problem.
It
'Cause-
would be, if they had 10 of them, that would be different, but 3, that's.
Yeah,
Well, if
right.
they could justify,
Residents, visitors,
yeah,
et cetera,
Staff.
suppliers.
yeah.
Well, wouldn't it also only be commercial if you're charging for it? If they're putting it in and people are
Most
just like
likely.
employees or residents are plugging in, that's not a commercial use if they're not paying
you'd
like a
probably
gas
still
station,
charging
right?
There may or may not be
Or no?
they would have the option of charging their staff to.
But
plug
only
in if they
available
wanted to.
for their employees, or their employees and their visitors, like the families that come to visit.
Okay, then if it's private, well, I guess,
Yeah, it
would be ex-
it
it
gets
would be
into that gray zone.
yeah.
It would be accessory.
So, when we talk about a use of a parcel and the category of uses and the utility and transportation uses, then it seems like, isn't the electric vehicle charging station always an accessory use?
No, if it
No,
was set up like a gas station with 10 pumps.
Well,
and
but
truck
then,
with a
but
convenience.
then doesn't that imply that we're I mean, if we just talk about the equipment, and so implied is this idea that you're just putting equipment somewhere, not that you're taking a parcel and assigning a use for the parcel for a certain amount of parking associated with the equipment, if you see what I mean. So is it implied, if you put it in utility and transportation uses, that with the equipment comes adequate parking space? And doesn't that create a conflict between prohibitions on parking lots as a permitted use? I mean, I don't quite understand as a land use matter,
Well,
as a land use matter, why it's in both places instead of just an accessory use, so that the regulations or the zoning that governs the use of the lot are not affected. I guess, does that make any sense?
Well, if you have your, like Mill Plaza, their parking lot is accessory to their, well, it's that's considered accessory to their property, but it's also the principal, isn't it involved in the principal use of their property? Because they're not providing parking, they're providing commercial retail and their
Right.
customers,
So they'd have
their customers only can park there. It's not open to just anyone.
Yeah.
And it's for customer parking only. So if they wanted to put in spots that
It'd be
were.
permitted, it would be permitted as an accessory use.
Well, if they put in,
I don't-
for their size of their lot, they could probably put in upwards of 10, and that would be accessory. But if they put in 20 or 30, particularly if they were charging money, that would be a separate principal use.
But
It would be
now-
like an additional business.
And permitted.
And you can have more than one principal use, correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And the chances are that they may not be doing it themselves, but they may be leasing certain amounts of spots to another person that wants to come in, and there will be an arrangement that we will pay for lease a certain amount of your land to put these chargers on at Mill Plaza. And that could very well be what happens.
So
But that would be
use, then
permitted
it
anyway,
does-
because
if
it's
land does go with the equipment potentially and as a utility and transportation use under this permitted category, can they make changes to the real estate because this use is permitted and the electric vehicle charging station implies that there has to
What do you mean?
be space for the cars to park?
Well, if it's a commercial site, you still have site plan regulations.
You mean,
You
I'm not,
you have approved site plans, so if it means changing their site plan, they would have to come to us, let us know. It would potentially be a very minor change to their overall site, and hopefully they'd be in and out of here in 2 meetings.
Okay, I guess if I'm the only one who was kind of asking this question, I just didn't understand the relationship between the area around the station, whether there was an implication that because it was a permitted use.
it would be permitted as a principal
opposed to
use.
An ancillary use, that there was not an overlap, shall we say, of the regulation of the land use with respect to a parcel that might be affected by such a plan, if that makes sense.
Well, and I think what he's asking is, you're permitted to have an electric vehicle charging station, but you're not permitted to have a parking lot. So how can you have a charging station without a parking lot?
You see what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
I do.
Okay.
We have to provide, how.
See, it's not, unclear to me, it's not, I'm
First off-
opposed, I mean, just,
First off, any commercial use has an inherent parking lot associated with it, based on the number of customers and staff that would be assumed to be a part of the parcel. We always allow parking. We never say you can't have parking.
and I'm not saying we shouldn't allow it, I'm just saying it seems ancillary to the parking always.
But
okay.
it's the structure. There's equipment and structure. And in this case, the structure is the pavement that's required for those vehicles to rest on when they're charging.
Yeah, we don't allow parking
Right.
lots as a permitted, as a principal use. We do under conditional use, correct? That's what.
Yeah, see, look, just take Central Business District 2. An applicant comes, prohibited parking lot, permitted electric vehicle charging station. It looks like a conflict to me potentially.
No, it's not a conflict. No.
Are we confusing?
They can't build a new parking
You
lot.
can't build just a parking lot.
That's a principal use.
But if you're building a purpose,
Okay,
you're
so
allowed to have a parking lot with it.
Yeah, that's why it seems to me more like it seems more like an accessory use because it doesn't change the use of it doesn't change the use of the character. It doesn't.
Gary, if it really bothers you, we can remove all the restrictions to parking lots.
Well, no, keep in mind, a parking lot is a principal use.
Yeah, that's
Is
great.
when
I'm just
you're-
trying to create a ordinance that is workmanlike and, people.
I think what you're saying is right now, it is impossible to come in and say, I want to create a parking lot that's specifically just for EV chargers. So I can't create a principal, I can create EV chargers, but at the same time, you're saying I can't build that parking lot, or I can only build that parking lot by conditional use. So is that the confusion? Because now it's starting to
There's
confuse
zero
me.
daylight between what you think should be the case and what I think should be the case in terms of the way it turns out. Zero daylight. And Paul, too.
I'm getting confused,
We're all on
too,
the same
yeah.
page. I'm just saying it doesn't seem to me to meet the character of a permitted use of real estate. It seems to be more in the character of equipment that you're allowed to put on your real estate. So it doesn't seem to be in the same category as parking lots and, things that have to do with land use.
This would-
as opposed to
This
a
would
little
make it.
tiny piece
yeah.
of equipment put on the land that has a use that's regulated. That's all.
But this tiny little piece of equipment requires a piece of land. So it's all one thing,
That's the,
the charger. It
well, I know it requires a
piece of land,
piece.
otherwise you can't use it.
Well, obviously, it requires a piece of land. I don't think that goes to the issue I'm discussing, though.
Well,
No, but parking lot as a
does.
principal use means that, not that my customers are using my parking lot, but I'm leasing it to other people like students. So what this means is I can have 20 chargers, and I can charge money, anyone can come, but I cannot charge, at least those as parking spaces. So I can charge for the chargers, but I cannot lease those parking spaces.
You can't charge for the parking.
Unless I get approval for a principal parking.
So the church, if the church wanted to put in EVs, they could do that.
So you can commercialize a charging station, I see. So
But not the spaces.
that's making sense to me. So you can commercialize, it doesn't really, okay, so you can, if that's, I don't think that would be altogether clear, from what I have in front of me, without explanation, but
Well, the staff would explain it.
So I think it's okay as is, right?
I think it's
I don't struggle with it all that much because
Yeah.
this charging station needs infrastructure, or I believe the definition that was provided was just structure, equipment and structure. And certainly pavements required, the charging station, perhaps a canopy, lights, and chances are it's a 24/7 operation. So that is all going to be taken into context, site specifically where it's placed. And that's why I really think the SEs in the residential zones are spot on. And maybe in some of our commercial cores as well.
yeah, I know. I mean, it's just, yeah. But we have site plan review, as someone has mentioned.
Yeah,
And
I mean, so the thought is, if the vision moving forward is that at some point, wherever you're having customers park or staff park, there's probably, companies are going to want to have the option or ability to be able to put in charger stations.
Yep.
You know,
Electrons
as
are
we
available.
convert more and more and get a greater percentage of EVs out there, we're going to need more of these things. And we're providing the ability for people to start thinking ahead and doing that.
Yeah,
So
if you
I'm
look-
satisfied
if you
by
look
Michael's
in
explanation.
Portsmouth at the Whole Foods, they just recently had a company install, I don't know if it's 6 of them or
I think it
whatever,
might be like 12.
12. And so they obviously have taken a block of their parking lot and said, okay, you can put it here. And they've done the same thing over in, at the, where the CVS is and the Garrison Hotel, they put a big bank of
Yeah.
Teslas over there. So it makes sense, and they're making money on it. And then, in my mind, Durham should be out of the business of putting these charging stations in, and we're buying them when
That's right.
when other people are doing it all around now.
And we don't-
And that's what we want to try and do.
Yeah.
To me, is this is a business, or it's a service to your customers, whichever way they work it. That's fine.
So, Paul, the genesis of this was there was a whole big ordinance that said we want the market to take care of
Right.
this thing. What we've done with it as written here, we've provided the market trigger that says you're allowed to put this in anywhere you got a parking spot. In all these places, you can put them in and go for it as an accessory use for your house and as a primary principal use on any commercial property. And then you have the SEs to control in the neighborhoods where there's tons of traffic, bombing in off the highway, charging, you can control that. So I think as it's written, it makes complete sense to me, and have no reservations with it at all. And we've accomplished what we were trying to do, which is incentivize people to get out there and put electric charging stations in.
I agree. I think we should move forward with setting a public
Yeah.
hearing.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'll take a motion.
I move that we schedule a public hearing, move forward with it, and schedule a public hearing. I probably need to recite more carefully
For March
from the
11th?
agenda.
That's the next meeting, right? March 11th? Yeah. Okay, excellent. Thank you. Any further discussion on this item?
Do we second and vote?
Yeah.
Well, you want to vote?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Seconded by Heather.
Now the discussion.
Discussion?
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right, about a half hour is what I said. Zoning amendments recommended by Housing Task Force. Discussion about amendments proposed by the task force to expand opportunities for residential development with changes to the table of uses, table of dimensions, and zoning text affecting single-family property, 2, 3, and 4-unit residential, multi-unit residential, senior housing, mixed use with residential, lot sizes, density, setbacks, frontage, and other elements.
Did we come up with a plan of attack as to how we're going to?
So I've been thinking about that. So let me float an idea out there and see how people feel about it. I think we should first look at the table of uses and sort of come to an agreement as to what styles and types of housing belong in each zone. And then we should go through the table of dimensions and ensure that if we, that the numbers make sense, that if we say we're expecting an apartment building somewhere, that the density numbers actually allow an apartment building to be built.
Right.
And not just a 3-family house, which is not an apartment building or a multi-unit structure. And then we can go through the text, or if people would want to hit the text first.
Do the text last, please.
I think doing the text last makes the most sense. The table of uses gives us focus. The table of dimensions allows us to make sure we're making sense, and then we can polish the text. How does that sound? All right. So.
Can we start, though, and not necessarily under them, but with the headings? Because there is one where we are changing one heading.
Okay. Sure, why not?
Because we do,
So-
that is a recommendation, so we might as well just get that one out of the way before we do anything else. And that's
In our-
changing OR to ER.
Yeah, in our discussions, we noticed that the Office Research Route 108 zone didn't really go the direction that the people who named the zone thought it would,
Right.
and that it's now primarily just businesses and residential.
And all those
You know,
residential.
So this is the area of 108 north of Route 4.
But those residential homes are non-compliant
Yeah.
at this point.
So we thought that this might be a good opportunity to rename the zone to something that feels more appropriate, and the suggestion was business residential.
Because that's what we have there now.
I think it helps segregate it better than Orly as well, so, which has
Office,
much more of a
yeah.
vision of office research light industry.
Yeah.
Well,
'cause-
which
And the
one are we
land
talking?
is too.
We're talking OR though, right?
Yes.
OR.
We're talking OR, we're talking about renaming OR to BR.
Yeah.
Because right now you have residential there. You also have some businesses there. But you have a lot of single-family homes, older single-family homes on pieces of
Let's
property.
deal with the name first before we get into the
Well, I'm trying to
uses.
explain them the reasons why we did it, because there should be logic behind doing it. And that is, what we have is a bunch of homes there that are now non-compliant because it did not go the way they anticipated. Whereas some of those older homes could, as they sell, could be replaced with duplexes or triplexes or even multi-unit homes if they wanted to redevelop their property.
So anyway, is there any heartburn with the new name? Or does anybody want to keep the old name?
So OR to business
BR.
residential?
Yeah.
It's what's there now.
Okay. I'll take, if you have second thoughts about it later, we can come back to it. But it sounds like there's no heartburn with it.
Well, Richard's making a face.
I'm just letting it sink in. This is the first I've heard of it.
He's mumbling, he's thinking his
Business,
brain's-
residential, does that imply that the residences there are business-oriented residences?
No, they're residences, so it's,
It's a mixed-use, business residential unit.
yeah, yeah.
It's not so much a unit as a zone. I mean, Yates, for instance, Yates Electric is there.
You can have residential
You've got the
homes
church,
or-
You got the police station, you got institutional uses.
You have Riverwoods.
Private business.
Right next to a bunch of single-family homes that, maybe they are in the process of converting or not converting, whatever. And then you have Riverwoods.
And then that's all I see.
So, single-family homes could still be built there if they wanted to,
Yeah.
which exists there now.
Right, so that was sort of the thinking behind the name. And then we went in and that was one of the zones where we weren't permitting new single-family homes. And we're going to re-allow them to keep them as a compatible use.
There could be some property that's large enough for, conservation subdivision, or even, there could be.
There's a couple
There's
in there that are
residential
big enough.
potential there.
So that was the idea behind the name.
Okay.
All right, so, and we've provided here now all the residential uses, because that's the focus from the Housing Task Force. So with residence, single family, as we get to that research, we also thought that changing that category from research industry to residential commercial zones. This one, I'm not, that was the second name change that was being proposed.
Which were you talking, are we on now?
At the very top of that, the header.
The header,
Yeah.
research
yeah, like we have
industry.
residential zones, commercial core zones, and then, because most of these seem like they're going a mix of the two.
And that actually follows along with the adoption of the new state rules anyway,
Yeah,
when you think about it.
allowing multifamily and resident, in commercial areas, yeah.
Which document should I have open to follow along with everybody? I have
The one
three.
that was endorsed
What
June
tonight's?
9th,
Got it. I just needed the title of it.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So we were looking at renaming OR to BR, and then the category from research industry to research commercial. I mean, the industry that we have there is so light that calling it industry is almost,
Well, so you're saying to change the category
but
to residential commercial rather than research industry? industry is a heavy word.
Yeah, because it's not like we're
But
allowing heavy
commercial-
industry anywhere.
Yeah, but commercial is very open-minded. It could be anything.
Either way.
Unless you want to make it commercial residential, to put the emphasis on commercial.
No, it doesn't matter.
I don't care.
I mean, especially because it's still categories inside that.
Commercial,
say,
residential,
Industrial.
yeah.
Yeah.
Go with alphabetical order.
Wait, that would be commercial residential.
Yeah, you could do commercial
Is
residential.
that all right?
I would.
Might be a good idea just to put the emphasis there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all right, let's do that. All right, so what we were looking at is basically bringing back single-family houses to all those zones, to those 4 zones there. BR, Moodor, Orly, and Durham Business Park, even though Durham Business Park is probably...
But we have on
And then there's this
P4.
note, so we should talk about the note.
So you'll see,
So it says that you can only build them as part of a conservation subdivisions. If we have a small lot, I'm not sure that's the way we want to go.
well, we're looking at, that's only in Moodor, Orly, and Durham Business Park. For Durham Business Park, I think it would be ridiculous to make it be that, just because of, because of the piece of property.
Right.
But I don't think necessarily for Moodor or Orly. I think our reasoning was those would be larger pieces of property that, if you were going to put residential in those types of areas that could still be utilizing the land for commercial use as well, putting it in a conservation subdivision.
I have a
would-
question, because don't we already say that if it's more than 3 homes,
More
that it
than 3
has to be? So do we need
Yeah.
that note, because it's already defined somewhere else that we need
You
it
have
to
to.
be a conservation subdivision?
Well, the intent of this is that you would not cut out 1 or 2 new lots for single family. You could not do that. But if you do a conservation subdivision, it allows for more master planning. So you
Right.
cluster on the appropriate place where the lots will be.
And
Okay, I
it,
see
and
what
it would encourage denser housing units.
And just while we're talking about that, just when I look at that, when I look at the GIS overlay with the zones, I guess I don't clearly understand why Durham Business Park is kind of cut off by itself and it's fundamentally different than OR. I guess it looks like, in terms of table of uses, it's very similar. In a lot of ways, it's very similar, but I'm not sure I understand the history of why that's
I
sort
think
of...
it was the ownership.
Yeah.
I think it was the fact that the town had to buy it.
Yeah.
So-
It was
There
owned
was-
by the town, actually, vacant land intended to be a research industry park, small park. But that didn't work out, and now it's Harmony Homes.
And does it make sense to consolidate that in any way? Or should we just keep Durham Business Park as Durham Business Park, or should it be consolidated into business
You might
residential?
change the name of it.
But
I wouldn't change the uses or anything, because there could be unintended consequences with the current ownership and their plans. But you could change the name, although...
I think I would just leave it. I mean,
would just
it's on
leave
its
it.
own. Well, because it's a standalone area, and it's,
It's privately owned by the same person. It's one piece of land.
Keep on,
Well,
no, it's
doesn't New
4
Hampshire
pieces of
even-
land.
yeah,
Oh, right.
it looks like it's the wastewater treatment.
well, isn't that a small chunk out of UNH property?
Yeah.
There's a
And there's-
really weird, so
yeah.
the whole area is not very conducive. Plus, if you look at it, there's not a lot of buildable land on it
Yeah.
anyway.
There isn't any.
There's really not much to pay attention to, in my
Okay,
mind.
so we just
in that
leave it alone.
area.
I'll leave it alone.
I could be wrong.
Because I wouldn't want to change something, and then we hear from Harmony Homes, what have you done? We can no longer build phase 2.
It doesn't, it
Yeah.
doesn't serve us any purpose to mess with it.
Okay.
Okay, So where were we?
So we're talking about the P4,
We were talking about whether,
Moodor and Orly needing to have conservation subdivision. Is that something?
I can see
But
that
remove
way
it
you
for
don't
Durham
have,
Business Park.
so that way you
Yes.
don't have
Yes.
somebody taking their lot and subdividing it into 4
Yeah.
5-acre lots for massive homes. Is that what
Yeah.
we're saying? Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
We encourage denser, of course, we have to get our conservation subdivision regulations rewritten, or we could have an issue.
Right.
Right. And then,
Yeah.
all right, so that's the single-family line. The next family, so on the existing table of uses, it was duplexes. We're up, that's getting updated to be duplexes, triplexes, and quads. So
No.
2, 3, 4
Yeah,
unit.
residences, 2, 3s, or
residences.
4-unit residences.
And they would be following the same permitted uses as a single-family home, except for in Coe's Corner for some reason. And I don't remember what the reason of that is.
Courthouse.
Courthouse.
Coe's Corner is permitted.
No, I'm saying it's following the same rules as single-family
I don't
homes,
know why.
except for Coe's Corner.
Why did we remove resident, why is,
Why is Coe's Corner not?
Why did we
does-
not
Why
put
doesn't
Coe's
Coe's
Corner?
Corner allow single-family homes? That's the real question. So let's go back to that.
what's
Well,
there?
but on resident, that's a pretty big change, right? We're going Ps on the residents across all the rural districts. We're all,
Yeah,
that's a
you
big
can,
change.
it is allowing,
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing probably
That
in
is,
this whole entire.
it is allowing duplexes, 3s and 4s because of their density of housing. And we did discuss this because the whole duplex thing, it wasn't allowed at all. And duplexes are a great way of building denser. And,
Okay,
and they're not allowed at
So
all.
sell me on it if I'm scared of it.
Well, basically, is we don't have the same conditions on the ground as far as students taking over. There's a reason why the town of Durham is afraid of them because of a group of some property owners turning all their duplexes, the ones built near the school, turning them into student housing.
But
And
this
they're
is across
afraid
the
of them
whole
being-
town now that this would
Yeah.
occur.
I
Is
think what
everybody
we're
aware of
looking
that?
at is infill, right? We keep talking about trying to limit sprawl and having more
Yeah.
residential units in
So
the
I'm just talking
downtown
about
area.
that residence line. Well, this one line is probably the thing that, I mean, that's the sprawl argument. Do you not want to sprawl?
it's the absolute reverse of sprawl.
It's not sprawl because it's a duplex,
Sell me
single
on it,
family.
and I'm confused.
We're talking about being able to take your existing single family and turn it into a more denser vehicle,
Okay.
as opposed to sprawl, which is let's blast a whole bunch of single family houses out into our areas that are undeveloped. That's sprawl.
Okay, so sprawl's not the right word. that I
Infill and getting
It's
density where we already have density in our downtown and in the neighborhood surrounding the downtown, which is what the master plan calls for. That's what this is.
But this says
All your
Ps in the entire town.
Yes.
Yes.
And
So where would
everybody
you
needs
not
to be
want-
dead aware that that's the case.
So
Right, this will get attention of the public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to that point, that, I mean, to that point, that is what it does, though. It does move 2, 3, and 4s everywhere. So it's not like you're co-locating them in high-density zones. You are technically sprawling them everywhere. And it's not like through a conservation subdivision where there's an argument for a fair amount of density in a small area, that is sort of taking them. I'm not necessarily opposed to it. I'm just saying that what you do is you do have 2, 3s, and 4s everywhere at that point.
I'm not necessarily for it, I'm just proposing it.
Yeah.
Would that mean that, would that mean for our,
It's really not exactly everywhere.
would that mean
So,
for
well,
R and
because-
RC?
because
and
what we-
Residence
P4?
A, Residence B, and Residence C,
well,
All the rural districts
except
in the
central
town.
business
it wouldn't be because we don't have.
and courthouse, for some reason. It
Well,
would
what
seem
I'm saying
courthouse
is-
would be a reasonable place
Am I
for it.
not understanding this permit, oh yeah, I guess so, okay, I'm on the wrong line.
So would that mean that the P4s that are identified in the commercial resident area should also be in rural R and RC because it would dictate that they go to conservation subdivisions, which would be a mix of housing in the plan itself.
But then I think the
which would
case
cause
there
that
was, then it would
clustering.
be like if you just had one lot, then it's,
Yeah. I'm not subdividing it, I'm not selling lots. I am building an apartment complex made of 2, 3, and 4 unit residences for rent. So
Yeah.
I'm not doing a conservation subdivision.
I'm just building.
I'm building
just building all
A
of
fourplex.
these rentals that I'm going, or even if it was a condo, is that still a subdivision?
But they can also be sold
State
as,
law, yes.
State law, but we're not subdividing land now. And I don't know if it would trigger conservation subdivision. But that aside, someone can come in and say, you know what? Durham's on board, so am I. I'm a developer. I can make this work out there in R or RC, where I can knock down these trees and build a dozen buildings that are multi-unit residential buildings and rent them out.
it would be very high rent considering the cost of building them.
So,
But
Sally,
they can also be sold as single-family homes.
So Sally, the compelling interest for society, is your compelling interest to get more housing going to
Yeah,
overwhelm the resistance for this?
The compelling, the approach from the Housing Task Force, and I'm not the only member on that task force here, but was that the one thing that we were missing and being encouraged to do, and the council, when we passed the attainable overlay district, was, well, where's the to purchase property? We want to see to purchase homes.
Where's the missing middle home
Yeah, where's the
ownership?
missing middle home ownership? And this was one way of saying we can allow denser, because we were not even permitting duplexes. And there was a reason why that was really based on a scare or a negative thing that happened decades ago that is not in the same situation now. Everything's different.
So if you want to take the societal view of it, this is the missing middle housing. If you don't allow it everywhere you allow single-family houses, then you're saying, hey, missing middle, you don't belong with
We don't want
those
you here.
folks.
Yeah.
That we're going to economically segregate our town based on what you can afford to live. And so if the rural zone's only going to be for the people who can afford the $1 million homes, because all the stuff that's under $500,000 is only going to be where we can, in RA and RB.
Could I ask you and Sally, what's the view of the relationship between the conservation subdivision and this change? The conservation subdivision seems to be saying, we have single-family homes on lots that are larger than they need to be, and we can create more density by subdividing and creating smaller footprint, single-family homes that may be organized in different ways and done in a sensitive way in the rural areas. That's one way of getting density. Creating smaller square footage, single-family homes that presumably would be cheaper for people to buy and that would create more density in the rural zone. This seems to be a different strategy, so we're opening up two different avenues for creating density. One would be the conservation subdivision, which sort of presumes that these are going to be homes that people buy, and one that says we're going to allow more units on existing lots that aren't subdivided for potentially rental housing as opposed to housing to own. Is that what? Is
No.
that?
You had me to the end.
No. See,
No.
you went the wrong direction at the end, as Richard was implying. This isn't necessarily rental. So this is if you're subdividing out a ton of lots, then you go conservation subdivision. But if you're only going to do a 2-lot subdivision or something like that,
To the size of subdivision, yeah.
right, then this would say, hey, you know what? I got my kids, we like each other, we want to be close to each other, we don't want to be under the same roof necessarily.
Or you simply also.
So let me build
That's
a
an ADU
three-family.
though, I mean, right?
No.
No,
An
no,
ADU is a
no.
teeny little thing.
These are-
I can't have, if I still want to have my 1,500 square foot house for me and my wife, and I want my kid and my grandkids
To have their own.
place, and my other kid and the other set of grandkids to have their place, I need a 3-family house, or at least be able to put 3 houses that we would consider a 3-family house in the same spot.
So the scenario
Without
I see is that it's going to be dominoes, right? We permit this in all the rural districts. So someone on Garden Lane is going to say, I'm knocking down my house. And now I'm going to build, 2 townhouses that face each other with the parking in between. Now I have 4 units there to sell.
That's right.
Yep. And you create denser housing,
Yeah, which is
more
cool,
housing.
which is really cool,
Yeah.
okay? In that it addresses the need
The
that
need
you're trying to
for
do.
housing.
But I'll say this again, I said it last time. When does that last domino tip over and DPW is telling us, we're gonna need $60 million out there at the wastewater treatment plant? So I really think it's prudent for us to understand the ramifications of making these changes. And when those dominoes start tipping over, when is it that we need, a greater capacity at the wastewater treatment plant? What's our water supply looking like? What's our school district looking like?
Well, maybe we should look, instead of looking at all these, why don't we do it one at a time? Look, okay,